It's always a good time to buy a house. You know, the worst advice someone ever gave me was not to buy a house. You know, I wish I'd bought a house in London when I was 21 because that £50,000 apartment would be $500,000 now.
Hey, this is Blake. I'm bringing in local experts from my circle of influence and then have you all get to know them a little bit better. And the first one that I wanted to bring together is an old friend of mine named Claire. Bagel like Nagel. Nagel like bagel. Here, I'm going to try it again, okay?
Yeah. Okay, so which one we're doing first? So we're doing you want to do the intros, explain what these sessions are first, or do you just want to have that all into one intro? Because I think that might be better, actually.
I can do it all in one intro.
All in one intro, and then we just jump right into the
Yeah, because I don't know if you had to leave, but the last time that Garrett and I were here, we did kind of like a little back and forth for like 5 or 10 minutes, and I introduced the idea that I want to bring in some friends,
okay,
do a little expose on
so
them.
you pretty much already had that already explained.
I mean, just a little bit. I said, like, hey, from here, I want to bring in some people and actually, rekindle the relationships, get to know people again, talk about them. So, okay. Hey, this is Blake Law. I just wanted to, again, reintroduce the idea of what I'm trying to do. I want to create a series where I can bring friends in to rekindle relationships, bring up some conversations, and do a little expose on them and their field, and them being experts at what they do. So first, I wanted to introduce my friend Claire. Claire is here. I'll let her give a little short introduction, but what we're going to talk about today is, really how we came to know each other, what it is that she does, what she's an expert at. And so with that, Claire, nice to meet you again.
Nice to see you again. It's been a while.
It's been a while. It really has been a while. Yeah. So, look, we've known each other for many, many years.
Many years. I started at Cosmopolitan in January 2nd, 2012.
Okay, so 2012, it seemed like that was forever ago, right? Cosmopolitan had opened in 2010. Yeah. I was able to be there with the team that from the beginning of where Deutsche Bank when they opened, and then was there for a little bit short while after. But about you with Cosmopolitan and your history, why don't you give us a little bit of background about what you did, what you do, and all that?
Well, I was in hospitality for 20 years, really. I used to work for Ian Schrager Hotels from London, of course, and I worked in Miami, New York, Los Angeles, before moving here in 2005. So I've been in Vegas for 20 years, 10 of those years in hospitality, and 10 years in real estate.
Okay. A little dating myself here, but you might hate me. I wasn't even graduated high school in 2005.
I don't want to hear that.
It was 2006, but no, I do clearly remember there was a time where our paths had crossed, and you had come into the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. I believe it was as a front desk manager. And at the time, I was helping all of the new hires do their onboarding and training. And their schedule of training at the time was a couple of day, class worth where you sit in, you learn things about what they expect from you, but also what the culture is and what they do. And I remember this English woman sitting in the class, all done up, the hair great, but also you can always remember somebody in the class that's listening. Because not everybody does. And so when I'm up there facilitating the class, you see this person, which is you, listening. And that's actually how I remember. And then I think at one point you came up to me and was like, wow, this is great. I feel really excited to be here. So that was like a badge of honor. I really, really liked that. And that's something I really do remember.
And I loved my time at Cosmopolitan. It was definitely the best way to end my hospitality hotel management journey, because it was the best hotel. Okay. We had a lot of fun there.
We did.
And the culture was great.
Yes, it was. What else did you do, though? So, tell us a little bit about your history and all this.
In hotels?
Yeah.
I mean, in hotels, I was the resort manager at Cosmopolitan, assistant hotel manager at MGM Grand. That was my first property and my first casino property, and first 5,000 room hotel. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of crazy.
It's like big leagues, you know?
Yeah, when I first done the numbers the first night, I thought I'd added too many zeros because I couldn't believe we made that much money in one night, It was crazy coming from a boutique property, 350 rooms. So. Yeah. But it was a lot of fun. But I love Vegas.
Yeah.
An advocate for this city.
Well, what draws you to it? I mean, give me a little bit of.
I think it's a melting pot for all different people, and I love that it has the best of everything. I mean, we have the Las Vegas Strip. We have all the fancy hotels and restaurants and concerts and shows if we want them. But we also have Red Rock Canyon, Valley of Fire. We can go hiking. We can go to Lake Mead, go out on a boat. 45 minutes, we can go skiing. You know, it's like the best of everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you grow up, you move to Vegas. And you actually have a house with a garden,
right?
You know, and you're not living in an apartment. So
yeah, because you know, people that don't live here, I don't think they understand that.
No.
Like everybody's like, well, why do you like living in Vegas? And it's like, well, first of all, there's like 2 months out of the year where it's really hot, and then everything else is like there's a couple of months, maybe a month where it's really windy, but everything else beyond that,
That's
weather-wise, is great.
Yeah.
We're 4 hours to the beach, 4 hours to like real mountains, like up in Utah, but we can also ski within 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
So I agree. Like Vegas is good for people that don't live here. They just think, you know, the glitz and glamour of the Las Vegas Strip, which isn't exactly what we're all about.
They think we live on the Strip.
Right.
And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
We don't even go there sometimes. You know, I can go 6 months without going to the Strip.
Yeah. I can actually go a whole year, but it's my annual birthday party. We were talking about this before we started. Every single year, I go to Chino Poblano at the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. That's still my favorite restaurant. It has been since it's opened. Jose Andres does a fabulous job, with that restaurant.
It's a great restaurant.
Yeah, I will get that all the time. And in fact, the story this last year is, it was kind of low-key. My birthday's in December, right after Christmas, the 29th. And the story this last year was, unbeknownst to me, like, I didn't think we had any plans. It was kind of just a chill, relaxed day. And it gets to be about 2 or 3 o'clock, and I'm like, hey, this is like my birthday. Like, should we be doing something? And my wife's like, yeah, where do you want to go? And she looks at me, and she's like, where do you want to go? And I say, I mean, Chino Poblano. I said, call and see if we can get a reservation. It's my birthday. Come on, let's go. Like, chop, chop. She's like, okay. So, an hour goes by, and she's like, okay, I got reservations. It's going to be, we got to leave the house at 5. And so we get ready, we go. And, we get there a little bit early before our reservation. We went down to the Vesper Bar, hung out for a minute, and then, the reservation time comes. So we went up to the restaurant, and lo and behold, she surprised me with all my best friends that were, there.
I love
so,
that.
she knew. She knew that I wanted to go there, and she was just playing me for a fool the whole day.
Yeah.
Okay, I know where you want to go. I've already set it up. Everybody's already going. Family and best friends were all, sitting at the table waiting for me to be there, and it was just it was a cool thing. So shout out to Kasha, on that. That was awesome.
She's great.
Yeah, so she got me on that. I know you told me previously you like that restaurant, but what makes you such a Vegas proponent? Like what is it that
I think my 10 years in hotels, when you're in hotels, you get the concierge events, you get to see all the new restaurants, nightclubs, you name it, we've been. So 10 years of doing that in hotels, and then being in real estate, knowing neighborhoods, areas, new developments, everything. I basically, I can give a little bit more because of my background, and I love dining out, and I love all the local restaurants. We have some of the best restaurants, and they're not on the Strip. Mm-hmm. Harlow and Summerlin, and some of these great restaurants that people never go to, mm-hmm. but us locals get to experience them all the time, and I love that, and I love sharing that. I actually have a list that I send my relocation clients that says some of Claire's favorites,
That is the best.
It's great, and they love it, and they say we would never have gone to these if you hadn't told us about it,
It's like a kickstart. Okay, you're coming here, I'm going to let you in on my little secret.
Yeah.
And that is,
it's great.
I have a whole list. Actually, Kasha has a list herself of every restaurant we love. And then every restaurant we want to try. So anytime that we want to know what should we be eating, she pulls this list out, and it's like, well, last time we wrote down that we wanted to try this, well, let's go.
It's great. And you'll never get bored here. There's always something to do,
So you've been doing this, in hospitality for many years. And then what really sparked a change in you that you were like, look, I still like this part, but I think I could be doing something else. What was that like?
I think I had some life changes, and I hit 50 years old. And I was really wanting to have more time where I can go to Europe and spend more time traveling and seeing the family, because all my family are in Europe now. And so that happened, and I thought, if I don't leave hospitality and push myself into another job, I'll still be doing this in another 10 years. So I quit my job, took a few months off, traveled, and came back. And I have a good friend that's a broker, and he said to me, Claire, why don't you take your real estate license while you're thinking about what's next for you? And I said, okay, because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to be self-employed, more free time, just a freedom to work when I want to. And I took my license, and he's still my broker. So I haven't changed. I've been with him, and I went to Sotheby's. We both moved to Sotheby's. He got invited back to Sotheby's in March 2020. And since being with them, I absolutely love it.
So, I mean, that's interesting. I didn't even know you were with the same broker, because I know you started elsewhere.
Yeah.
And so is it really this connection that kind of fostered that you're...
Yeah, I think he encouraged me. He nurtured me. I shadowed him a lot. And so he really helped me. And he's been in the industry for 40 years. So I got some good starting points, which really helped me. And really, I would say, we're in the industry, it's not about the selling the house. We're in the people industry, which is what hospitality is. So that transitioned really easy for me, because you're taking care of the people. You're guiding them through the biggest purchase of their lives, or you are helping them with their biggest investments. So it's really about sitting down, listening to people, seeing what their goals are, what their real estate needs are, and nurturing that relationship. And the house is a bonus. It comes afterwards. You build these great relationships, and how we do.
It would. I think there are a lot of similarities here, because I just had a thought of, when I was working in the people department at Cosmopolitan, my mentor Daniel, I'll never forget this, that he was so attention to detail at how he wanted things to be run, but also he wanted to impress, and he wanted to instill that same nature of hospitality that our guests get, but for the co-stars, the employees at that resort. And I'll never forget this specific example, which is, I think they were hiring a new, I forget which one, but it was a new executive, and we had all of this executive's information beforehand. We knew the start date. It was like 2 or 3 weeks, before the executive was going to start. And he calls me in there, and he's like, look, I want everything to be done for this executive on the very first day that he starts. And what he meant by that is he wants to have the business cards already printed in his name with his phone number on his desk, right? He wanted to have the cheat sheet of logins, where that executive would need to know. And just the thought of what you even said, helping with relocation clients, of giving them a restaurant list of there's still a lot of similarities of being in the people business and hospitality, and also, in real estate.
Well, you can take people out of the hospitality industry. You can't take the hospitality out of the people, because when you've done it for years, it's in you. Your guests come, and you've got the towels on the bed ready, and you've got the things in the bathroom in case they forget their toothbrush. And it's just what we do. So even my friends say, this is so nice, It's just what we do. So, but I really, I worked with Daniel in Los Angeles as well.
For the Traeger?
Mondrian, Ian Traeger Hotel. So we knew each other when I came. So that was good too.
That guy's a good guy.
Small world in hospitality.
It is a small world, right? And I think even the people that brought Daniel and Sherry, they had worked together, way many years back. And so there was a tight-knit group. Well, okay. So, you got this hospitality experience, transitioning over, looking for a little bit more freedom. What does freedom look like to you, though? Is it just... I don't want to say loosey-goosey, but I mean, when you work for somebody else, you're kind of on that schedule.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, I take a month off and go to Europe and see the family. I've got lots of nieces and nephews, brothers and sisters, so I travel around, see all my friends and family, and I take a month. Yeah. Whether it be in the summer, because it's hot here and I don't want to show houses when it's 110. I usually take summertime vacation. And all my clients know, Claire's going to be in Europe for the summer to see the family. And, I think just doing that and knowing that I have the the benefit of being able to do that. And I also have a great team of people that I work with, that should I have someone who needs to do something with their real estate while I'm out the country, I have a contact for them. You know, I have, and so I can really switch off. When I go, it's me time, it's family time.
Yeah.
And you can't always do that.
Yeah, otherwise.
I didn't have a New Year's Eve off for
Oh, my.
12 years.
I can imagine, yes.
You know, in hotels, you're always working when everyone else is off.
Yeah. Just a point of clarification for anybody listening. Claire really does travel, you know, every year. I think the first time I saw that, I think you had gone for like 3 months, you know, or something.
That
I was like, what's going on?
The 3-month trip was when I quit hospitality.
Okay.
I took 3 months off. I did a little Eat, Pray, Love.
Yeah.
I did
I remember
Bali.
following the journey.
I did Bali, a yoga retreat. And I call it, I did a yoga retreat in the W Hotel, so I called it Detox and Retox. And then I did India, Goa, and then London. So I took some time off, and it was great, figuring out what you want to do.
So you still, still to this day, you take time off.
Yeah.
Do you have family elsewhere? I mean, is that what you're doing?
I have family in Netherlands. My dad has a little place in southern Italy. So and I have friends, really good friends in Florence. So I have plenty of people, places to stay, and things to do. So
Cool.
Yeah, it's nice.
Is there any benefit to Sotheby's? I know it's Sotheby's International, I believe, right? So like, is that part of like, are you enjoying traveling, that there could also be any potential that you could do or have knowledge of experiences abroad or things like that?
I always visit the Sotheby's office, and we truly are an international company. We have offices all over the world, and so whenever I'm traveling, I visit those offices, make those connections, and we have a great network of people that we can always help people, even if they're moving internationally or anywhere else out of state. So we can help them. So I'm not only selling their house here, I'm also connected them with the Sotheby's agent somewhere else. So that whole service process is staying the same. So
yeah. I know we've talked about previously, your strengths, which are you're bringing a hospitality nature into this. You're bringing attention to detail. You got a lot of experiences transposing over into this, side of things. Yeah. But you're also not like a newbie at this either, No. Just a full disclosure, Claire actually helped me buy my house. So and that was like what, 2019 or 2018 or something like that?
2018.
So you're not like a newbie at this either,
No.
So you've got some experience.
Yeah.
How have you seen yourself grow throughout this?
I think that, the first year you start a new career, and I was 50 years old, go back to school wasn't the easiest, but, we do it. And the first year was difficult for me because it was like learning a new language. You moved me around hotels, I knew it like the back of my hand. Mm-hmm. So it was difficult. It wasn't easy overnight, and I wanted to know it all, And it took me about 2-3 years to really get my feet under the table and feel like I could teach it. Mm-hmm. I could share it. I could really guide people and then create my own systems to help my clients, like my things to do in Las Vegas and my checklists and to help them and guide them through the whole process and make it a fun one, because it should be fun. And I think most people fear buying a house because of the unknown or the surprises. So if I could sit down and have consultations with my clients, whether they're buying or selling, and I sit and show them all the paperwork they're going to sign. Because, with electronic signatures now, they're going to sign it on their phone. They're not going to read it. Yeah. And I don't want that. I want you to know what you're signing, and I want you to know every scenario of the situation. Yeah. And I guide them all the way, and I don't go away. I keep in touch with them. I send property reviews every year. However long ago we did the transaction, So I'm
it's
always,
actually true.
I'm always, yeah.
Can I brag on you for a minute?
Of course.
Okay, all right. So let me give the story. At the time when we were buying our house, it was in 2018, 2019. So I don't know. At the time, we weren't even seriously considering. At the time, it was like, well, let's just see what's out there. And So we jump on Zillow. We just were looking at zip codes at the time, and maybe even just price range. To be honest, like we were like, okay, well, this is what the payment's going to be. Me being in mortgages, I can kind of figure that out a little bit, So I'm like, okay, this is kind of what we're doing. And so we see a property, and she's like, well, how do we get in there? And I'm like, well, I know Claire, And so like that night, I think I either texted you or emailed you, and I said, hey, can we go see this house? And like. I'm not even kidding. Like 7:30 it was a Saturday. She's like, yes, at 10, like let's go, like at 10. And so we saw that house like the next day. And then it was about a 1 week, 2 week, we were looking at other houses in a certain area in the southwest part of Vegas that we always were comparing it to that first house.
Yeah, it was so nice.
It's beautiful. Really it is. But we were always comparing it. And so we were like, we just made the decision. Somehow or another, I got pre-approved. I don't know, But no, we got under contract. And just to brag on you is that what you said is true. Is that even though I work in the mortgage industry, it's not like you let me off the hook. You still took the time to have me review and understand what I was signing and all this. Even though I read contracts a lot, you knew you took time out for us. And then beyond that, it was. Every single year since then, it has been Christmas cards. It has been magazines. In fact, you told me one time, you were like, look, I even like if I can just make an imprint on somebody continuously, that's what I want to be known for. And you're sending magazines with like updates on Vegas lifestyle and Christmas cards, including our family. You dropped off cookies one time or chocolate one time from my son Oliver because I posted a video that he was mad he didn't have any chocolate. You show up at our door and you're like, look at this. I got chocolate for your son. I heard he wanted some.
And it was British chocolate.
Oh, it was delicious, by the way. Okay. He might have had a piece, But that was years ago. And then, even most recently, you sent us a packet of information on our property profile and understanding like what our options were and how we can do, And so, and it should also be stated that throughout this whole time frame, it's not like we were talking every week either, So it was like we knew each other. We knew we were doing things. Yeah. The mortgage business that I'm in and the real estate business that you're in is there's some commingling and some not. And that's okay. But it's also that you never forgot. And that's what I wanted to brag, is that you actually took time and created that impression. And that's this hospitality feel that you got. Your own personal branding, what is that? Isn't it like Nagel for Vegas? Or what?
Nagel for Vegas, yeah. All my social media is Nagel, the number 4, and Vegas. Because I'm more than just about the houses. Relocations, I'll tell you everything about Vegas.
Right.
The good, the bad, and the ugly, because we've got some every city, right? But I love the city, and it's easy to brag about it, right? When you love it, I really do.
It's it can be short-sighted when it's 122 degrees out, and your AC broke, which happened to me one year, and I'm out there with an umbrella trying to get it fixed, and luckily it worked, but yeah,
I need a good home warranty. I've got someone for that too.
Okay, all right, link it up. So look, I think there's a lot of good things to say about, an expose for you, which is one of the whole reasons I wanted to bring you in, is that there's more to it than getting licensed. There's more to it than,
a lot more.
Just like, and not to say that it's bad for some people that just want to help family or whatever, but when you're constantly practicing at your craft, you're making a diligent effort to actually improve and get better. And then you had said that even by where I live, you're at Sotheby's, which, you go to the office all the time. Like how many agents, are out there in the world that, don't, or don't make the effort. And some of them are part-time, and that's okay. But the ones that are full-time that actually make a diligent effort. And
we have an amazing office. So that's another thing as well. It's easy to be there. We have such a cool team of people with marketing and that in the office. So sometimes it's easier to be there and deal with them. And everything in that office helps me service my clients better. So they make me look good, Well, like what? Like, what is it? Just first of all, I know you guys are at On Commons, which there's general admission down there. Like, I know about that place. It's right next door, so we love it in there. So we have plenty of places to go, and it's a great area in the On Commons, and now with the Durango too across the street. So, but just we have great space there. They can come in, we can sit in a boardroom and look at things on the big screen, and talk about what their wants and needs are and go through everything there at the office. It's comfortable for them,
Mm-hmm.
and they get to experience who we have behind them. So when they hire me, it's not just me.
Mm-hmm.
We've got this team of professionals behind me as well. So it's nice for them to see that too,
Do you how do you foresee yourself or Sotheby's or interpreting this market that we're in? Because we've gone through highs, we've gone through lows, we've gone through differences. What's the word on the street over at Sotheby's and for you?
I always say it's always a good time to buy a house. The worst advice someone ever gave me was not to buy a house. I wish I'd bought a house in London when I was 21 because that £50,000 apartment would be $500,000 now,
Mm-hmm.
So, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So, that it's always a good time to buy because you're building wealth, and year over year, you have some cycles, as you say, that go up and down, but when you're paying rent, you're paying someone else's mortgage. So why not pay your own?
That's the
it's
truth.
Really so, because that money you never get anything back off of that.
I hear a lot of that where there's I think some skepticism, some people who think that it can't work, and part of what I do in correlation with what you do is, at the end of the day, my role as a mortgage lender is to make sure that the money shows up on time when it's needed to complete the sale. So if it's $50,000 that's needed, if it's $100,000 or $500,000, in the loan, my role is to make sure that money arrives where it's supposed to so that you can close the sale when it's supposed to happen, And so I hear things all the time in that where they try to make it bigger than that. And, sure that there's some guidelines, there's some things that you have to do if you want certain types of financing. Things like credit score, we take a look at things like income and assets. But a lot of that is they built that over risk. They built that over knowing that you can afford this. They don't want to give you money that you can't pay back and that you will drown.
You shouldn't.
Right.
You really shouldn't. And so that's why I like how strict mortgage brokers are now, because we don't ever want any disasters where it comes to money.
Right.
So we want to make sure that they really can afford it. And I think also with people are like the interest rates are too high. The benefits of buying when the interest rates are high is you have no competition.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes there's less inventory, but the ones that are out there are selling because there's buyers.
Yep.
And when they buy, they have more benefits and incentives from the seller too.
Yep.
So there are benefits of high interest rates.
I totally agree. In fact, a couple weeks ago, I was talking to my brother Garrett, and he was like, "Well, what's the outlook on interest rates?" And the only thing I said was they're going to be higher for longer. Let's do that. Let's talk about that. But let's also say that interest rates don't tell the full story, because in the event or when the rates drop, if they do or when they do, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. But what is that going to do to the market? It's going to saturate it. It's going to bring people in off of the fence, which is going to drive up prices. And you're kind of seeing that effect right now.
Exactly.
Is that the housing market is appreciated so much, at least in our local area, really has yet to come down. It's kind of leveled off, but it's kind of going up. It's kind of going down. But, we're in this mess because there is a lot. Not a mess. I don't want to degrade it and say that nobody's benefited from it. But also we are here because people were buying, people were selling, there was demand, people could afford it. And now people are on the fence thinking that they just can't make a move, and don't want to, even though they're still buyers.
Can I just tell you that the biggest question I get is,
Sure.
Can you tell me when Vegas pricing will go down? And my answer to that? Do you know about the new baseball stadium that's being built? Do you know about the new movie studio that's being built? Do you know about the new Museum of Modern Art downtown? Do you know about Circus second tower? Do you know about M Resort's second tower? The A Marriott Hotel being built? There is so much going on. Look at Urban Core. Urban Core is a huge development in Summerlin, which is going to break ground this year. And it should be totally finished in 3 years' time. But it's going to be luxury shops, restaurants, luxury condos and apartment living, parks, a lot of green space out there. But when I tell you all that, you tell me when you think
Yeah.
prices are going to go down.
Yeah, actually, admittedly, that studio is over by the San Marcelo house,
Yeah.
that you helped us
Yeah.
buy. And it's right. So we
So
thought
don't
we're
sell
like
it.
not selling. We're like, dude, okay, we got to keep on to this for
Yeah.
at least. But this, hold on, urban core thing. I'm really not familiar with this. Can you fill me in?
Urban
Where is
Core
this going to be?
Is a new development. It's going to be to the west of the 215, in between like Lake Mead and Charleston area, against the mountain back there.
Mm-hmm.
They're building a place called the Grand Park, which is going to be a huge green space area, and it's an urban development which is going to have these luxury shops and restaurants.
Okay.
It's a 3-year project.
Okay.
And they already have planning permission and everything for it, and it's already mapped out. And
What is that development called? Well, there's Lone Mountain that's right there, right? I mean, so what's
so it's further down. It's going to be basically like the new downtown Summerlin,
but farther north?
but it's just a little north and to the west,
Okay.
where the other
Like
one's on the east of the 215.
So they just built this huge development up there, and I'm blanking on the name.
Sky Canyon. You're talking about up north.
No, it's on the left side of that 215. Anyway, we don't need to go into it, but they built a bunch of houses up there. Been a bunch of developments up
Yeah.
there. They've expanded the Summerlin area, up on the west side.
Well, we have Summerlin North, Summerlin West, Summerlin South. I mean, it's a bigger area now.
So anyway, we got on this tangent because it's like,
Yeah.
when is housing prices going to come down?
Vegas is booming. It really is, so I don't think they're going to come down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good. I'm excited to see where it goes on at least the market. So in part of what I do is, as a mortgage lender, I don't do mortgages just in Nevada. I do mortgages in a lot of different states, and so I can kind of see trends. And the trend is that rates are higher for longer. Okay, like that's I used to say, people would call me and they're like, what's interest rates doing? Like, it's normally the first question when they ask a mortgage lender, and it's like, well, it's a little bit deeper than that, but do you really want to know? And I'm like, I'm hoping in the next year or two, maybe they come down. I've been saying that for far too long, okay? Yeah. I think the different approach is that really rates matter, but they matter less than I think you think. And, we've taken the approach in our business of helping people to become a little bit more financially stable. Obviously, there's still purchases out there. There's still people moving. I focus a lot on military personnel. These people are still getting transfer orders to going other places. They want a place to live, and this happens. So anyway, I'm excited to see where the whole market goes.
And just to make people feel better, the first house I ever bought was a 7.75% interest rate many years ago. So the rates have been really good in Vegas for a long time. Mm-hmm. So they've had a long, long run for their money.
My favorite meme that I always I laugh at every time I see it is like, you see the generation of old, the seasoned generation, celebrating all of their equity in their home, and then you get the younger generation, less experienced, and they're all mad because they're saying, look, you bought your house for like 3 raspberries back in the day, all right? So like that's how much it cost. And now look at us, look at this that we're in. I think there is still definitely room. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for us to do this. But beyond, real estate, we don't need to make this whole conversation about real estate or market, things are driven. But I asked you what you see in the industry. Is there anything else that you want to talk about as far as real estate or things that you're seeing or listing or selling
just the people? The market to me is good now. In January, the last 2 months, January and February, I got 3 first-home buyers into escrow. And they just are getting a little less than what they were going to with the higher interest rates. Mm-hmm. So they're going into a first home which is slightly smaller, a 2-bedroom instead of a 3-bedroom, mm-hmm. And things like that. So you've just got to customize to what makes them comfortable with their monthly payment.
Do you have any? Well, give me the juice. Do you have any pet peeves? I don't know. Just is there anything
dealing with bad real estate agents?
Okay.
People that don't pick up their phone.
Okay.
Or you're trying to see a house and it's not available to show. I'm like, take it off the market.
Is it backdoor deals being made or something?
No, I just think some agents aren't as on it You know, some agents don't work after 5 o'clock on the weekends. And I'm like, this
That's
is
when
the
it actually
industry
goes.
when you can't do that. So that's one of my pet peeves in real estate.
Yeah. Beyond that, I don't know. Just between us catching up, you know, since we last spoke and really were communicating at like a decent amount, you know, I have my son, I have my daughter, Kasha, and family. Like we've grown. Kasha became a U.S. citizen. Like I was pretty stoked about that. That happened, you know, a couple years ago. But I mean, like we're just growing, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, Zosha she's growing. She has some intellectual disabilities. We're not writing the story for her by any means. You know, we're letting her write the story. We don't know exactly what to expect from her. You know, those are my kids, and I know you were interested in those, which is why I bring them up.
I love your kids.
Well, Oliver loves you with that chocolate. I'm
I
telling
remember
you.
how shy Oliver was to begin with, and now he's
Yeah.
jumped out of his shell.
So he's in 3rd grade, and the guy's smart. And, you know, if you give him a big enough leash, he's going to use it, you know. And that's not all bad. He's a little boy. He knows how to push buttons, and most little boys do. But he's also very smart, and I know everybody says that about their kids. But the guy also really just likes reading, and so he's really in his space of this imagination of characters. And you know, at school, I think he gets a little naughty at school, and I think it's just because he wants to do something else. You know, like that whatever the teacher is saying is not exactly what
he's got his own agenda.
Yeah, he's got his own agenda. But what about for you? I mean, as far as life goes, what else should we be catching up on?
I mean, you really know my favorite thing to do is travel. I love to dine out. I love to cook too. You know, I like people. I like entertaining, having people over. But yeah, my focus really now is just this year is my dad's 80th birthday.
Okay, where are you going?
So,
Where was the trip this year?
I don't know, because his birthday's not till November. So I'm gonna see him obviously when I go to Europe next month. So I will see him then. But yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do in November, but I'm excited for him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing really well. The family's all good. So.
You know, you're one of the only people I know that consistently travels to Europe, and the connection between my wife and, you know, her family, they're Polish, and, you know, she brought me there, you know, 3 or 4 times to Poland, but then she also took me around to, you know, Barcelona and Venice and like some of these other places and stuff. So I feel like there's a good connection there of just how you know international things.
Yeah.
I like it. Any plans for when you go to Europe right now? Is the trip detailed?
So, a little bit. So, I'm actually coming up to my 60th birthday on March 7th. So, I'm excited for that and can't believe it because I don't feel 60.
Seasoned.
I'm like a fine wine, right? I get better with age. But so there's going to be some fun, and there's about 15 of us going to be in the Canary Islands. Getting a little bit of sunshine because England's going to be pretty chilly when I go. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see everyone.
Okay.
And just switch off for a little bit.
Cool. And then when you get back, is it going to be full steam ahead? I mean, you're doing
full steam ahead.
Same thing. So, you know, as people want to, you know, get to know you or hear from you or, you know, learn more about you, where might people be able to go?
Well, they can always pass by my office and say hello or give me a call. My number is the easiest number to remember. It's 702-327-2727. And they can give me a call. Let's have a chat. Let's meet for a coffee and sit down.
That's actually the first time that we met was for a coffee.
Yeah.
You know, you were like, okay, well, where do you guys want to go? And I think it was before. No, so I think you took us to that house, and then you were like, okay, let's go. Let's meet for a coffee and talk about it, you know, like what all are you looking for, rooms and all that type of stuff. So, look, I was just super appreciative of, you know, meeting you, knowing you, understanding that you're in the business, trying to foster a relationship, and still to this day, like that's the same Claire years later, which I find very impressive. You know, like that is very, 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 very cool. So, well, look, you heard it here first, folks. You got Claire Nagel. If you can't remember her last name, how to say it, it's Nagel like bagel, but with An N. That's what they said at MGM, right? That's how they used to call you.
MGM used to call me Nagel for bagel.
Cool. Well, everybody, I just want to thank you, Claire, for coming and sharing your time.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I really hope that this sparkles for you. I really hope that's what I wanted to do, is that you have a chance to explain and put yourself out there. So thank you guys for listening and watching. And then, look, I look forward to helping.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.